Hey there, Tracy. I see you in great thoughts looking at your computer screen. Ah, yeah. There you go. On mute. You have to unmute. Uh, uh,
There you go.
good.
All right.
How's everybody doing? Tracy, how are you doing? Welcome, September 10, 2025, season number 6, EP12, show number 101.
We made it. We made it. We made it over the hump.
We went over the hump. We went
Mhm.
over the hump. How are you doing today, Tracy?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
I'm playful. I am ecstatic. I am excited about tomorrow. And what that means is today is a great day. I'm just going to jump in here and I'm going to switch this from intro to main event. I'm not even going to warm up. So you started saying something earlier when we were in the green room. Uh, and strangely, it was similar. I said, I can't wait to get on to share what's in my spirit. What it's not even what I'm manifesting, what is being manifested for me and what I'm walking into and how I'm walking in it. And it's not a one-time thing. This is going to be a continuous because I think it's a it's a mental place, it's a spiritual place. So I'm talking you, but you would say head, gut, brain, right? It's all of these things aligned in order for me to do what God has put me here to do. And here goes Tracy. I was reading the Bible and I came across Isaiah 40 verse 11, and it says, "Do not fear, do not be anxious, for I, the Lord, I am with you. I will uplift you. I will help you. I will strengthen you with my righteous right hand." And it was such a command. It is such a command that you know I found myself fearing at times. I find myself being anxious at times and thinking that this thing is all on me, and it's not all on me. It's I have to do my part, but I can't say, we're doing a project and it rains. We're in a rainy season here in Liberia now. And if the lazy man says, I'm not going out because it's raining, oh my goodness, you will be hungry because it rains consistent and persistently in the rainy season. And right now, the sun is shining. And before you know it, the rain is going to come down so heavily. So if you're looking at the rain, I'm not going to get wet. I'm going to wait until the rain stops before I do. No, You have to do. So here's what's happening, Tracy. We, and I'm saying the collective we are walking into seasons, into time, into scenarios, into big and huge workings. When I say huge, huge. And as we're walking in here, our position is not, because this season is for people who have prepared.
Mhm.
Who have
Mhm.
prepared. It's not,
Yeah, 'cause
if
if you
you
didn't
hear,
prepare, it's
if
gonna feel pretty chaotic right now. Yeah.
correct. If
Yeah.
if you haven't prepared this, please go and prepare, because it's going to come around for you. You will prepare and you will be ready for your season. But for those who are prepared, Tracy, I tell you, this season there are, and this is where we have to be careful. There are huge opportunities that are going to present themselves to you.
Mhm.
When they present themselves, because you know you have been prepared, or you are prepared, there will be a tendency, because it's huge, you haven't seen this type before. You would go, I wonder, if I can take on this. Don't play small. Don't play small if you have prepared. Don't play small if you have gone through all the iterations. You have fallen, you've stood up, you've fallen again, you've dotted the I's, crossed the T's, you've tested and retested, you've tweaked. This is the time for, and I'm not going to call it a test, because you're not going to fail it.
Mhm.
Tracy, we're about to walk into, to for people, it's contracts you've never seen. For others, it's building a building project, not one project, multiple humongous building projects that you have the ability, but the ability that you have, you've been given this gift by God, and it's time God is saying, let me see if you can trust what I have in you, to see how you can not only go with yourself, but go with me, and let me show you how I can manifest this thing through you. Let me
Yep.
show you this plan that I've had for you, Tracy Wulwyn, and whomever have prepared. Let me see if you can trust your preparation stages now for this platform where I'm about to put you on. And no matter what, Tracy, because it's so huge, in our minds, we will go, I wonder, I wonder. Please don't wonder. Jump in and start playing. And I said, I intentionally used the word playing, because if you get in this thing so serious, your stress level, your anxiety, go in there like the way we jumped into eavesdrop. I know my focus. I want to share what I have here and put it through the airwaves, the internet. So I'm going to come in here and do an intention. When you land into this place where God is taking you, us, the intention is, do what you know. That's all you need to do. Do not
Yep.
be fancy. Do not get so, you can be creative, but don't say, no, it's, you've been doing this thing, but just, there's more yeast that have gotten in it. It has blown up to a level that you can manage, and you have to trust the process.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think the way I would kind of break all that down,
Hmm.
my own thinking and what I see and talking to people is we are being given the opportunity to step away from our conditioned identities, our ego identities, where
Mm,
the bigness, right? It's measured in the, oh, it's so big, and if it's so big, I'm so little. It is, we were created and designed to serve in a particular way. And as you have
mhm,
said, we're entering a new stage of being, right? With the whole, some people call it the new earth, the new world, the new paradigm, I mean, there's so many words for it.
mm,
But we are entering a new space. And that space is inviting us to actually be what we were designed to be. And
Mm,
yet we have to let go of, I don't say everything we've been told, right? But most of what we've learned to be has been based on conditioning. And
mm,
that has kept us in this identity that our ego has had to be the surrogate for our soul,
mm,
right?
mm,
In this third dimensional conditioned space, I'll say that again, our ego has been the surrogate for our soul, right? Because our soul, there's no room for our soul. Our soul was put in a box. It was called religion
mm,
or something, right? Like it had to be controlled by man, and the message and the meaning, right? The
mm.
identity of that had to be controlled in the narratives. And so we learned that it's not okay to just have our own ideas about things, that they had to pass through the narrative that was then,
Mm.
controlled by the whoever, right? We have to leave that behind. We have
Yeah.
to, yeah, it's not even to be tested by that. We have to literally release it in order to be that like as you said, the blueprint that God created within us cannot be manifested, right? Cannot serve to its greatest potential if we stay in these conditioned boxes where
Mm.
the ego has been playing out and being surrogate for the soul work, right?
Wow.
So the ego says, oh, that's too big. Either it's the false humility that I see, because
Mm.
you can't be humble through ego. It just doesn't work that way. So when you see this, oh, I'm not good enough, that's false humility. That's not that's egoic version of humility, if you
Mm.
want to call it that.
Mm.
And you either see that or you see the, oh, look what I've manifested. Look how big, look how, which is the arrogance, which is also coming from ego. Neither of those is going to work right now. And
Mm.
quite frankly, those who are choosing to let go, and it's not, I mean, it's not just like, oh, poof, let me let go. And so I can be what God created me to be. It's tough. I mean, to tell our ego, hey, you've been ruling my entire existence and the existence of hundreds of thousands of people for hundreds of thousands of years. So you just need to
Mm.
sit in the corner now. I mean, it's like the
Mm.
emperor being told, yeah, no, you're not in control anymore. There's
Mm.
massive kickback. And
Wow.
and so and what I've noticed, the way I've experienced the kickback is bodily sensations. What's really
Mm.
cool, and I know I've talked about this before, with our human designs, we have a predominant intelligence. So it's either head, heart, gut, or intuition is our predominant
Mhm.
intelligence. We will feel it through our predominant intelligence. And I've been getting that from so many clients. They're like, this letting go, I feel it mentally. It's like my head is going to blow off. And if I look at their human design, their mental authority. If it's their body, it's their sacral authority, their gut predominant, right? If it's emotions, their emotions are going
Mm.
crazy because they're emotional authority, right? But we're feeling it through our predominant intelligence
Mhm.
is where we're
Mhm.
feeling that letting go. And so
Mm.
for me, it's fears that my body is just doing all this weird stuff. And like 1 minute, I feel like I'm going to pass out. And the other minute, it's just been so extreme.
Mm.
I've been watching it in my husband and my daughter, who are both emotional
Mm.
intelligence, and it's the emotional piece, it's like highs and lows,
Mm.
and so but if we can, the message I keep getting in my
Mm.
meditations is be still with it,
Yeah.
trust the process, breathe.
Mm.
Breathe. When you feel these chaotic happenings in your body, that is you letting go. So just keep breathing. Sit
Mm.
with it. Like if for me, my instinct is to get up and walk around, like to distract myself with movement, right? If
Gotcha.
I get on the elliptical and maybe if I'm like moving my body, it'll move out faster or something. And it's like you don't have to do anything. In fact, if you do stuff, it actually slows the process of letting go down because it's fear motivating that movement. It's not
Mm.
it's you're not being moved by spirit. You're being moved by
Correct.
fear.
Ay,
And
ay, ay.
and so I'll just start. Also, my husband's sitting there, and I'm in, bed at night or whatever, and I'm like, I was like, oh, she must be moving through something. She's releasing, letting go something. It's like I'm giving birth, except it's like inverse, right?
Oh my goodness.
So
Traci, you know what? If I show my screen to you, I copied something from our show on it 13, and we ended with this. It said, any letting go, there's a death, so a birth can occur.
mhm.
And I put it in here because it is that is exactly what surrender, what yielding, what um from my point of view, just giving it to the Holy Spirit, and not just letting it be with the Holy Spirit, but be with him, and we are co-partnering in this thing that wants to be created, so that the awesome honest, if I can say that, of what the Creator has put in us, for it to be viewed and go, for people to say, wow. And that I can say, this wasn't it's just, yes, I know I assisted, but this is in you also. God put this in you. You have to go to that place to stay. And what you said, keep still. And that keeping still, Tracy, I tell you, it's been since 2007 that I've God has been preparing me for this moment in time,
Mm,
since 2007. And
mhm.
that's what, 15, 18 years.
Yeah,
18
that's
years of
about right.
preparation.
Yeah,
18 years of preparation for walking into this space that I don't even have. I'm not even going to think. I'm going to tell you this. We have a project. God sent Verlin to do a to put a bake to open a bakery. Open a
mhm.
bakery and feed the children, the hungry children in the different schools. So she got here. We started to look around for, let's see where we can go. We went to this building. Okay, let's see if we want to get it. Almost at a point of signing. I go, nah, not this. Go to another one. There's one next to the house, about a stone's throw away. We looked at it. Oh, this is perfect. Went to ask the question, one question. Oh no, you can't put any ovens in here. Oh my goodness. Okay, you know what? We can put the ovens behind here. Can we do that? Yes, you can. I'm looking at it. I'm like, nah, Tracy. The final output is this. We're building now a two-story building, ground floor, floor number one and floor number two, where the entire ground floor is the cafe, the bakery, a commercial kitchen, and yeah, the bakery, commercial kitchen, and the cafe. Second floor is the offices and studios for M4M, Media for the Mind. And then the last one is an apartment. That's what I'm saying. We're walking into this thing, Tracy, of doing great exploits. And if I tell you, if do I have all of the, because the funding in so it's completely different. Funding is different in, like, in Africa, in Liberia, than what it is if I was doing this in the US. All I'm going to do is show my credit, get my half a million or whatever. They gave it to me, and I give it to my contractor, and I say, here's what the architect drew. Go ahead and build this for me. In 6 months to a year, it's finished. In Africa, in Liberia, the percentage is almost 30% on a dollar. So I can't go there and do 30% on the dollar. That's giving all of my money away. That's so
Mhm.
whatever I have in savings, I'm taking that and I'm starting that with my own cash. I'm starting with my own cash, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to phase it out. Phase one is foundation. Phase two, first floor. Phase three, second. Phase four, third, and then try to do the interiors, etc. But it's just so exciting, Tracy. It's exciting that I will show you. I will share the pictures with you. I'll shoot it to your email or your phone after here. But it's just so exciting. I'm looking at the project like this thing is happening. So Tracy, and the only way it could happen is by me letting go and saying,
Yeah.
I'm not going to trust myself in this place. I'm not creating any at the moment. I don't have any income giving 50,000 to 100,000 a year. No, I don't. But it will unfold and it will happen. It will occur because that's where the yielding and surrendering is. Because it's not about me.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It is and it isn't. It's not just about you. And you said it
Correct.
when you said it's not all up to me. I'm in a co-creative space
Yep.
with God, with spirit.
Mm,
And that's the key piece, is where we're realizing, oh, this whole, if it is to be, it's up to me, that I've been buying and subscribing to hook, line, and sinker. And especially for those people, because I tend to see there's two groups, and
mm-hmm.
they don't just fall into the firstborn, syndrome thing, where if you're firstborn,
Gotcha.
you fall into one group, and if you're not firstborn, you fall into the other group. But it's the people who are the doers, and then the people who are the receivers.
Mm,
And so the people who are the doers tend to be the ones that are carrying the receivers, right? They do all the work, and
mm,
the receivers then benefit from that. And we can see it turn into this disempowered dynamic where the doers are the rescuers and the receivers are the victims, and these entangled dynamics that tend to come into play when we're not
mm-hmm.
all embodied and empowered within our own selves, within our
Mm,
own design, within our own power. We each came here to do something important, right? And so nobody's more important than the other, right?
ooh,
We're all
preach.
doing different things at different levels, right? So that
Yes.
level of importance needs to go away. And that's another thing. So we have to not just let go of the ego being in command. We have to let go of these structures that create these hierarchies that make us
Mm,
believe there's actually a delineation between me and you, and what you're doing is more important than what I'm doing, or vice versa. I mean, that whole thing has to level. And I
yes.
think for that to happen, we start to disengage bit by bit from the paradigm that we've been living in, where I have to have the money first, or I have to have the vote of confidence first by the bank or by my parents or by the whoever's funding it, is that somehow I have to do a tap dance routine to prove that this is what I need to do. When in actuality, I'm being called by spirit to do it. I don't have to prove that to anybody.
Oh,
I don't have to prove it to myself. I just get to let it happen. It's just a very we have to undo so much of what we have believed is the right way to be and to live, in order to actually live within our unique value. And so that's the piece that I find so exciting, and I'm curious how you feel, because I'll tell you, some things are really developing for me as well. I just had
mm-hmm.
a pretty interesting meeting yesterday with a company that I've been coaching, an individual within this organization. But with that thought that, hey, if it works with this individual, we'd like to really kind of just have you be our go-to executive
Mm,
coach. And that started to happen in this conversation, where it's like, and now we want you to coach this person and this person. And oh, by the
ooh,
way, top brass is looking at you to say, hey, maybe they want coaching, and, and all of
mm,
this. And what was interesting is I got home and I was telling my husband, and Jeff said, well, so how do you feel about that? I said, what's really interesting is pretty neutral. I feel pretty neutral, not negative, like,
correct.
oh, well, I don't know, maybe it's not going to happen. And I just have to, like, I can't get too excited and tell all of that. Just neutral, like, it will happen the way it's meant to happen. And if it's meant to happen, and, what's exciting to me is that I get
Mm,
to be in these rooms. And what's exciting to me is I get to see a shift in what I've experienced in life, which
mm,
is, I mean, I got there a little bit early, and they brought me right back, and they were in another meeting. And so I came into the conference room. They told me to come on into the conference room. So I'm sitting there and I'm privy to all this information. And granted, I have an NDA signed, but still, it was so clear from day one that I was being invited to be a part of the team.
oh,
This
wow.
wasn't this whole, well, you're going to be over there and we're only going to show you this much. And, and which is what my typical experience has been. is that we're gonna
Correct.
show you as much as we need to show you to get what we need to get from you.
Mm.
And that, I mean, I didn't realize it until I started to, like, I'm like, no, I'm tired of that paradigm. I'm tired of people reaching out to me and then doing this whole, like, mask wearing, like, shape shifting, type of thing. And it's like, what the heck? Like, you
Yeah.
called me, either we're going to have an upfront, straight across the board conversation or we're not,
Yes.
and I would have to
Yeah.
say no to a lot of things because it just didn't align with the way I do business, which is upfront and direct. And
Yes.
but yet it's dissatisfying because you're like, is there anybody out there who can actually do business like that? And to finally
Mm.
be in this place where, like, I didn't have to do anything. I literally was, well, that's not true. I did
You
what I
performed.
was called to
Yes.
do. And because
Correct.
of that, this individual who hired me initially found out about me through another individual who I had worked with their team and coached their team
Mhm.
in an
Mhm.
industry that is the same, right?
Correct.
So, that when we're looking at who has experience in certain industries, coaching teams, individuals
Yeah.
and teams, like, okay, she's been in this industry and that's our industry. And so she understands to some extent. Um,
Correct.
so it's simply do, like you said it, just
Mm.
show up and be you. And based on who you are meant to be, you will do certain things in a certain way. And just make sure you're aligned. Make sure that your job is to make sure that your energy is being spent and invested in things you believe in. If you don't
Mm.
believe in people who are shady and not direct and all that, don't put your energy into that. If you find yourself in a room with someone like that, leave. Like, it's,
Yes.
we can vote. I mean, all of a sudden it's like we're waking up and going, oh yeah, I don't need to do that. And
You
you know what?
don't.
I will tell you, I think we get to give some credit to the younger generations, and
I
as
was
much as,
about to say that. Yes, go ahead. Please,
yes,
please.
because I have heard so much, by some of the older leaders in organizations, these young kids, they just don't get it. And I'm like, I think what I'm hearing you say is they are not going to sit and stay the way Gen X and above did,
Yes.
or you can't dangle carrots in front of them and promise them things and then not deliver, and they just still stay
Mm.
loyal to you for years and years.
Mm.
Actually give them credit for calling BS on.
Yes. Yes. As you were saying it, Tracy, all I was thinking, this generation that they leave the job without another job. They leave. They don't say, okay, like the way we play it, okay, I'm going to find another job and then I'm going to leave because no,
Sidestep.
they'll leave because I'm not going to stay in this environment. My pastor says energy is the new currency.
Yep.
He's
I'm
kept
hearing that
saying
everywhere.
that. You're hearing that everywhere. He
Oh, well,
says,
I'm knowing that. Yeah, I've
nowhere
known
you
that
put your
for,
energy.
yeah.
Nowhere you put your energy because it can suck you dry or it can extend you. It can make you grow. And you said something, go where you're valued. You going into y- your your gift can only be manifested when you see the full picture. Your
Mhm.
gift cannot be experienced if you see half the picture because in you, because it's a gift, innately you know there's something missing. I can't put my finger on it, but and I'm talking about you saying them come in, see us for who we are, and then let what God has given you come here and surgically fix this thing that then we can really get a total value of it versus the one who says, when she comes here, nobody talks about this part. Nope. In fact, she's not going to come in the room until we've cleaned, sanitized the room because that guy, he talks too much. He will say something that we don't want her to hear or this. So they
We
they
only
they,
want we
they
only want we
manufacture
control.
because
Control.
and here's what's coming. And every time we tend to control, we never gain what we're supposed to get from that relationship.
Totally. We may be in control, but we don't get the blessing.
We don't get the
I mean,
blessing.
again, it's like, okay, do you want to be in control? We're going to give that to you. You're in control, but guess what? You don't get the blessing because the blessing doesn't come through you controlling the entire thing. That's not where it comes
Mm.
from,
Ooh,
right?
I'm
So
liking this.
we're going to pull that. I mean, do you know how many organizations, big organizations I'm seeing right now with massive internal issues? Massive. I mean, I'm talking if most people knew, they would be like, ooh, I'm pulling my money out of this. Massive issues. Like the foundation has cracks all over the place. And that's because they refuse to let go of that command and control model. We'll just keep letting go people. We'll keep laying off people. We're going to keep
Mm.
that we're going to align with that bottom line. We're going to control it to get it
Yes.
down to that bottom line alignment. If we have to let go of everybody, like, yeah, you are completely sabotaging your
Yes.
organization,
Wow. You
right?
know,
And just to get, because they can't let go of that idea that if I don't control the bottom line, things will fall apart. In other words, I won't be in control.
yeah,
Right. And it's
yeah.
like, it is your control that is keeping your organization from shifting and pivoting
Mm.
in different times. What got you here will absolutely not get you there. And in
Mm-mm.
fact, the more you apply what got you here to the next stage, the faster you're going to fall apart.
Yes,
And
yes.
people don't, I mean, I knew yesterday when I started, because I speak a whole different language. And I was introduced to these new team members as, this person who's had experience working with people like them. Da, 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 da. And I said, my job is to work with you to help you define your own value,
Mm.
because it is in the inability to define your value that you're getting lost in your leadership. And I said, and that's true for everybody, right? That's not
Mhm.
individual to anybody. That's true that if we can't define it, we can't measure it. If we can't measure it, we don't know what we're dealing with. Right?
Correct.
Confidence comes from knowing the value you hold in a room. And so really, I'm not here to tell you what you already know. I'm here to share with you perspectives you may not be aware of. And
Mm.
and when I had the guy who was in charge of this whole thing, he's the head of this particular team,
Uh-huh.
look at me and go, and this is why we want her on the team. She's bringing something so different that we need. And to have somebody say that when I'm used to people kind of going, what? We don't understand that language. Prove yourself. Like, show us the document and the white papers that proves that what
Correct.
you're saying, which we don't understand, is actually going to work for us. And you need to
Ooh.
show us before we're going to invest in you. That whole thing
Mm.
my entire life. And what I
Mm.
think it has been so wonderful, or people will be like, I kind of feel it, but because my head it doesn't make sense to my head, I got to push you
Doesn't
away.
make sense. Yeah.
It doesn't, like, I can't cognitively control this information. And so, like, there's other parts of my body, my heart feels like it makes sense. And even my gut, it makes sense. And my intuition is telling me this is something important, but it doesn't line up here. So
Mm.
see ya.
You
You know,
got to go. Yeah.
it's like, but I finally stopped personalizing that. It's like, that's not about me. That's about you. I mean, and not in a negative or judgmental way, but just you're not ready to embrace
Yes.
the adventure. Like, and that's
Yes.
okay. I mean, like you said, if you're not ready, it'll come for you later, but I
Mm.
think that the sooner we get ourselves ready, but it is challenging. And it does mean that the simplest things need to be remembered. Just breathe through it. Like, I have had so many episodes of fear come through my body, like gut wrenching fear,
Mm.
because we hold it in our systems, right? And we will feel it based on our predominance, right? So I feel
Mhm.
it physically. Other people can feel it emotionally or feel it like existentially, if they're more intuitively based. But
Mhm.
it becomes a crisis in you in whatever way you're predominantly inclined.
Mm.
And that's the piece that it takes so much courage to lean into. It takes so much courage to let yourself experience that and not
Yeah.
pull back from that, to trust that, okay, this isn't because I'm dying. You know how many times I thought I was dying in the last couple of years? I mean, it's been so extreme that I literally felt that there was something going wrong in my body and I was dying.
Mm.
And
Mm.
to just have that level of faith, I mean, you know what it's like because you've been walking it. And you know what's interesting about 2007? There is in I have a friend who's an astrologer, and she's talking about the alignment of the planets right now, and she said we're on an 8, I think it was an 8, a 9 or an 8, and an 18-year cycle. So whatever was happening 8 years ago and 18 years ago
Mhm.
has to do with seeds you planted then that are coming up and sprouting now. So when you said 18, and what I thought was interesting with me, because Madison was born in 2007, she's now
Mhm.
off as an 18-year-old, as an adult and in college. This is opening a new chapter for me to focus on a different baby, right?
Yep, yep,
um,
yep.
and and it's the same thing. I planted the seeds. And it's not just the seeds we planted, it's the
Mm.
lessons we've learned by cultivating those seeds, right? Like for
Mm.
me, it's bringing a child into the world, and the lessons I learned from being a mom, and what that means to actually have to, I mean, good Lord, what I had to let go of,
Mm.
and also what I had to advocate for. I mean,
Yeah.
we have made some different choices, in our lifestyle, and that are very faith based, and I've had to advocate for those very uncomfortably sometimes in
Yes.
systems that want
Yes.
to control that narrative
Yeah.
and how I do things. And you're a bad mom if you don't do things this way. And it's been really illuminating for my
Mm.
soul and my life
Mm.
experience. And I think those same lessons are now going to be applied to growing something, you know, else, right? But from a
Mm.
place of more wisdom, if I
Yeah.
allow it, right? If I don't feel like I need to go through the cycle of learning those things again. And I think that that's what
Yeah.
really the letting go is. If we don't let go, we'll just repeat the same cycle. It'll be a different
Correct.
name and a different face and a different scenario, but it'll be the same lessons.
Yes. Eavesdroppers, we're walking to a season of new birth, of humongous, and I'm talking about humongous opportunities where we have to trust our preparation of over the past 10, 15, 20 years. And this has just been please, if you're just getting on, go back, rewind, and hear what we're talking about. But I tell you, Tracy, so if we've walked this walk, I can only, my nature wants to assist someone who's watching or who's listening to say, okay, um, tell me what it looks like, or tell me what this path, because our patterns may be similar, but our path would not be exact. The pattern will be there, but not the exactness of it. So, how can we speak to someone who's listening and saying, "Yeah, I feel this, but I'm not there yet." Or how can we engage? How can you engage that mindset? Because you were talking something, and it's to get out of the control seat. I think that's where it begins. You have to get out of the control seat to say, God, spiritual, why am I on earth for? Why am I living? Because that's I think that's the granular question, the atomic question of why am I here? And once you can answer that, or if you can't, go and find the answer. And I always say this: ask your mom, if your mom's alive, your dad, your siblings, people who know you, they have crumbs of you over time. They can
Mm-hmm.
tell you, they can give you information that says, you know what, you're that person who I fill in the blank. So you start getting that information and you start honing on, okay, I think that is right, that is right. And you start practicing and seeing it to see if it
But
is.
yeah,
And then
well, that's
there's the extra part now, and this is a question. I don't know. I'm answering it now, but I'm gonna dump it on you. There's the extra part now of finding people. So you and I are sitting down here talking, and we've been through it, and we're on the cusp of springboarding into something huge. So
mhm.
how can you frame this to someone to say, look, here's what the pattern looks like, and here's what I think, what I've been through, and expect A, B, C, D. At this turn, there's a left turn. At that turn, there may be a right turn.
Hmm. Yeah, well, so and this is why I like human design so much because I've been coaching for years, and I have the ability to read people. I
Mhm.
have the ability to listen through language and determine, but it takes a little while. What I love about human design is you get your human design read and it's right there, right? So it doesn't take so long. It's a hack. So get your human design read, right? Get your human design done is my first thing I'm telling people these days is find out what your blueprint is. And this is not
Mm,
your personality or your behavioral patterns like most assessments. This is the blueprint that God created within you. Your
mm,
service, right? Your function, right, in this world. And study it and understand it, but more than anything, play with it, experience it, go in the sandbox with it and go, okay, it's like a new toy. It's like I've got this thing and I'm like not quite sure how to use it. And so let me go like play with it and see, take it into the, sorry, I have all these, I got attacked by mosquitoes. That's why I'm like wiggly today because I've got all these mosquito bites that are really itchy. But really play with it because it's the whole ethos of human design is experience. It's experiential,
mm,
right? So
mhm,
even in the information, you still want to test it with your own, guidance, your own inner guidance and say, okay, how is this stacking up for me? I had something that happened really cool, and this is a little bit of a side note, but I just wanted to share it because I just thought it was so cool.
hey,
Is
eavesdrop.
I've really been, for so long, it goes back to the letting go of conditioned ways of thinking about ourselves and what we're capable
Mhm,
of. And somebody came to me and they wanted to have their human design chart done and a report, generated and by me. And they didn't have the date they were born. Or I'm sorry, they
mm,
didn't have the time they were born. They had the date, but then not the time. And that really determines a lot, the time.
okay.
And so I'm like, well, I can't just guess. And so I thought, well, if I'm meant to know the time, tell me the time. And so I said to them, I said, well, see what you can do on your end. In the meantime, I'm like, and the time came to me. But I didn't know. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is the time that came to me.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't ask the person because the person didn't know. So I
Correct.
said, okay, I'm going to take the time to generate a report on based on this time. I'm
Mhm,
going to give it to the person. And if it resonates with him, then that's all we need to know. Right.
mhm,
If he's like, yeah, this is who I am. And so I did that and I gave it to him and I said, and share it with your loved ones. Like you said, share it with your loved ones and ask them, is this,
mhm.
and everybody's like, oh my gosh. His daughter was like, Dad, that is so you. That's you in a way I hadn't even thought about. Like that's
Gotcha.
really defined you.
Mhm,
And I thought, okay, we
mm,
do this thing. We think we're limited. We think, oh shoot, can't do that. Don't have that information. Can't get it from the outside world. Can't get it from somewhere else. So I'm stuck.
mm.
And I think because I decided, hey, if you want me to have the time, I'm open to receive the time. And without anything, oh, like, well, how am I going to know that? And and I'm like, and it's not for me to decide. I'm literally the catalyst. I'm just saying, hey, I'm open to receive the time, and then we'll let him decide through his own
Mhm.
experiential testing and
Yeah.
measuring and deciding, is this
Mm.
me? And it was really cool because obviously when we were reading through the report and we were going over it in more detail, he was like,
Uh-huh.
this just is such an important, incredible tool. And this guy's an engineer. So I
Mhm.
mean, he has that very logical, very
Correct.
cognitive,
Yeah,
mental mind. And so it
yeah.
was just a really neat conversation because I think in real time he was able to experience what this whole experiential testing is all about.
Mhm.
Is that because he says, well, how did you figure it out? I said, well, I told him, I was very honest with him. I said, I just was open to receive the time. He's like, Oh, he says, well, how did you get it? I said, it just came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was delivered
Yeah.
into my mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I think that we are going to be we are not even coming into, we are in a time where the more we test limitations, the more
Mm,
we test what we've been told is okay and not okay,
mm,
and the more we align with what is truly feels okay. This is boundaries, right? What's okay for me? What isn't
mhm.
okay for me? Really lean into our own personal boundaries, not what the world has told us is right and wrong.
Yes. Yes.
I think we're going to find many more opportunities, much more ease and flow, even in the chaos and even in the, ups and downs. We're gonna surf the waves.
Mm,
um and we're gonna feel, at the very least, in those moments where I literally felt like I was dying. I was like, well, if I'm meant to go, then this is my time. So I'm not gonna fight it. I'm not gonna resist it, because there's not a whole heck of a lot I can do about it if it's my time. And I think, again, once we release that,
yes.
then we get to receive the blessing of what it's really about. And
Mm,
and so, thank goodness I keep being blessed with more time, because I feel like there's a lot I do want to offer, this life, in this lifetime.
mhm,
But I think, to your point, and to what I think the point we're making overall today is, watch yourself, notice
mhm,
yourself.
mm,
Where do you find control? Because resistance is control. What we resist persists, right? So even if we can't actively control it, resisting things is
mm,
control. Like
mm,
when people say, resist the current administration, or, whatever, I mean, it actually creates blockage, right? If
mhm,
you don't
mhm,
agree with what's going on in the government right now, resisting it is not going to make it better. I'll tell you that right now. Just the laws of
mhm,
physics, that's not how it works. Like, it's not about resisting. And don't confuse resistance with protection, right?
mm,
Because people are like, well, if I don't resist, I'm not protecting myself. They're not the same thing.
mm,
Resisting something is this: nobody moves, right? Nothing moves. If I resist the water from coming, nothing's flowing, right? Protection is something different. Protection is placing yourself in places, arenas, spaces, energetic fields, whatever you want to call it, where you feel grounded and secure. That's
mm,
protection. That is
mm,
not resistance,
mm.
right? I'm just telling you, because we've learned to fight, and that's a resistance based control mechanism. And we think that's protection, but it's not. It's not.
Tracy, which martial art is the one that uses the force coming to you and you just use it to let them, I see. Is this Tai Chi?
Well,
Where
most martial arts are based fundamentally on that: use the force. Don't
correct,
resist the force. Yeah.
correct. When they come and punch, let them go, and then you use their force to
You
do
use
it.
their force to take them down, right? And
I like I like that. You were talking, and all I'm hearing is don't let the crowd define who or what you are.
mhm.
You've been called into this space to do exploits. You've been called into this space to do things, and I think, hi, Daddy Brooks. He said the path keeps changing at every age. I think um, we Tracy's experience with X, of which I am called to do X, does not define my ability to do X.
Totally.
Tracy will then come and say, Wulwyn, I tried that before. It doesn't work. Don't do it. And I'm there going, you know what? I trust Tracy. Tracy is a trusted partner. You know what? I'm not going to do X. No, your
Mhm.
your your being is not based on another person's. We are a community, but we are a community where we thrive upon what has been placed in me will assist you, and what has been placed in you will assist me. It's not for us to be the same. So when Tracy has done X and she tells me don't do it, that's why it's so important to understand language. That's why I like when we're communicating, we're looking for the right words, we're finding and communicating the right words. We have to communicate and say, and we have to also decipher. The receiver must decipher and say, hmm, let me understand what this person just said. When Tracy tells me don't do X because I've done it and it doesn't work, I must say Tracy has a set of skills that she has tried it and she hasn't used my skills to do it. So I will be cautionary as I do X with what Tracy has learned. I will use it as a basis to say, okay, those things I must keep my eyes open for it, but I'm going to try it because I
Yeah.
have a different way. Tracy, the way I was brought up in Africa, it's completely different from the way you were brought up in Colorado.
Oh, totally.
The way how you got solutions is different from the way I get solutions. But we
Well,
always
we're
get
designed differently too.
correct.
We're
So
different designs. Yeah.
correct. So I want you to imagine when somebody says this doesn't work, they haven't. You see, you haven't gone to the well during war to get water. You haven't. You
Right.
haven't. You haven't. You haven't done a bear a belly crawl with bullets going over you to get something that you need. You haven't done it.
But
So
we've
when
all
you
had experiences that we draw off of, and I think the analogy I
correct,
use that could be helpful for people is a
yes, and it
keychain, right? We have a key. We have a keychain, one of those old
uh-huh.
round keys with the old keys, and there's
Mm-hmm.
like 10 keys on there. And we don't know which one goes to this door, but let me tell you, each of those keys goes to a door. Maybe only this one goes to this door, but it doesn't make the other ones irrelevant. They just don't
No,
go to this door, but
dear.
they go to open other doors. And I think that's the key. If we remember that, if the door you're trying to open, you have the key for. Maybe I didn't. I tried my key on that door you wanted
Mhm.
to try, and it didn't work for me because that key didn't belong in that door,
Correct.
right? Also, the other thing that we need to remember as generational people, right? We came from a generation. So we are different designs individually. We were raised in different places, but we're also raised during different times, right? At different times. So the time that was then, if I did this thing you're talking about 10 years ago, and I'm like, well, when I tried it 10 years ago, it didn't work.
Mhm.
Okay, well, first of all, we're in a very different time. And wouldn't you say that you and I are in a different time than we were in 2007, right? Than we
Sure.
were when we were born? I mean, it's a different time, and different
Mm.
times call for different measures, different approaches, different people, different, right? And so one of the things that I just posted it the other day as a um, as a reply to somebody's comment on something that I shared. And it was somebody I know from teaching, my teaching days. And I said,
Mhm.
when I think about teaching, it wasn't education to me isn't about let me impart information on you. Like it is my job to teach you what you need to know. I
Mm.
never saw education that way. I saw education as the facilitation of the learning process in each of my students.
Mhm.
And as such, I was there to help them discover for themselves what was helpful, usable, right, aligned. It wasn't for me to tell them what that was. And it's
Mhm.
the same thing in coaching. I always tell people, if a coach tells you do this, don't do that, get rid of them.
Mm.
Rid of them,
Mhm.
because it's not your coach's job to tell you what to do. That's your job. If they're not helping you learn how to access that within you, they're not doing you a very good service as a coach, in my personal
Mhm.
opinion. Right? It's
Yeah.
not their job to tell. It's their job to help you determine, right? To help facilitate your learning process as you learn how to figure those things out for yourself.
Mm.
Right? It's a wash your feet service. It isn't a let me dress you as you need to be dressed and send you out there based on what, that's why I think a lot of people who have, like, for example, people who have been executives who then become executive coaches, they don't understand that. They're like, well, I was an executive. And when I was an executive, this is how I became successful. So I'm going to tell
Correct.
you what to do based on what I did to get successful. That's not coaching.
Mm-mm.
That's
Nope.
counseling, right? That might be, mentoring, but that
Mhm.
is not coaching. And if anybody is to coach you, it is to help you make those decisions for you, but not
Mm.
to tell you what they are. So I think that, and that's true of anybody, right? Nobody should be telling you. They can share, and they maybe even are coming across as you need to know this, but you get to determine what's helpful and what isn't.
So we have what, 5 more minutes? Whew, 5 more minutes. Let me do a quick recap. I think this entire conversation has been about letting go. There's death, so a birth can occur. We're entering new stages in our lives where we've been preparing for quite a while. And as we're about to walk onto this new stage, we have to play big. And playing big is not looking and saying I, but it's co-partnering with the Holy Spirit, co-partnering with God, co-partnering with what you could consider your higher being to come and express that which God has brought you on this earth for. We talked about ego being a surrogate. We've been using the ego as a surrogate for our soul, where we really need to really step out and let our spirit express what's in us and get that blueprint out. Ego is not humility. Arrogance is not humility either. I think energy is the new currency, where we have to know where we put our energy, go where we're valued. Um, and I think that I'm going to end here and punt back to you to close us up. What I was talking about in terms of, you haven't been in war, and likewise, I haven't been in a situation where I remember you talking about, in we had to escape and do certain things
Yeah.
in your life. I can experience that when you explain that story. I'm going to myself like, whew, please. But because we have these experiences, our experiences allow us to engage a particular event or a particular task with a completely different set of lens. And it's our allowance in that we get. I don't want to say this, but that's where diversity and inclusion brings it in to bring a solution that we all go, oh, that's a mastermind solution, because multiple minds, different eras, different ages, different views coming to create this beautiful solution that we then say, oh my goodness, we didn't allow control to say, I am in control. So I was in Africa and I went through war and I know what pain is. I know it. No, and Tracy there going, no, I've been through pain, Wulwyn. Oh, really? Okay, then let's sit and create this solution. So the bottom line is, as we're moving into this next phase of magnanimous, this next phase of humongous, this next phase of you will be doing things that with your co-creator, that you will pinch yourself and go, oh my goodness, did we really do that? It's allowing us to get out of the seat, the control seat, leaving the wheel, yielding, and letting both God and us do this thing that he has us to do.
Allowing.
Tracy, I'm going to let you take us out in the next 1 minute. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I did too. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who stopped by. This is, hopefully we'll hear from you guys, thoughts about that.
I
But
know.
I think you ended it at the place it's really about is, we can't allow before we've done two things. Release the control, because you're not
Mm,
allowing anything when we're controlling everything, right? And owning our value. Right? We will
yes.
never allow ourselves to show up if we haven't owned our value first. So I see the
Yes.
whole imposter syndrome. Everybody's like, "Is this am I valuable? I'm not valuable. I don't know if I'm valuable." That, it's not. There's not a wrong turn to it. It's just that we have to get out of that in order to
Mm,
move on. Just like we have to get past grief before we can move forward. It's a step, but if we get stuck there and we're like, "Oh, I have imposter syndrome. This is what I don't like about diagnoses." Is it gives us
mm,
some place to, but then people identify with them. I'm a cancer survivor. And so then they're identified by cancer. I'm like, I don't think I want to identify myself by cancer. You can say I'm a survivor. I mean, you're a survivor. I'm a survivor. You just mentioned two stories that, show survivorship. So then survivors we're all survivors to some extent.
Yes.
And you don't need to compare who has a bigger survival story, right?
Thank you.
Just know that makes something. I always need to know and say one thing real quick. I used to always know the students that had been through something, either had birth issues or issues early in life, because there was a wisdom about those young children. And we have something that we gain through struggle, and you can tell it's written all over us like an energetic blanket.
Wow.
It is in us. We get to use it to allow ourselves to move forward and serve the way we're meant to.
Hey, eavesdroppers, Traci, thank you so much. I enjoyed this one. EP12 season 6 is a wrap. So we'll see you in the next 2 weeks.
I look forward to it. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.